Today we'll be finding the exact value of angles given in radians. If we have radians given that would be between 0 and pi upon 2, that would be okay. We could just take the values straight from the table of exact values. Now if there's an angle that's beyond pi upon 2 or greater than 90 degrees, then from there we need to do some manipulation to find a related angle that would appear on the table of exact values to find the value of that angle. I'm going to be doing my calculations in radians. I find it quite straightforward to do that, but if you're one that would convert your radians into degrees and work in degrees to find your exact value, then that's fine. What I would do if you normally do that, I would go to one of my other clips and it would be the exact values working in degrees. Right, let's make a start and have a look at a number of curves that we have here. So what I've got here is I've got the sine curve in blue, I've got the cosine curve in red, and I've got the tan curve there in green. And what I've done is I've pulled them all together, and I've pulled them all together in one diagram, and you'll be able to see them on the right hand side of the page here. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something similar to what I did when I was working in degrees, and that was to relate the angles within here, whether they're positive or negative, in the cast diagram. And I've got the cast diagram set up in radians here. So imagine the cast diagram as a circle, starting at 0 degrees, going round here to pi upon 2, which is 90 degrees, round here to pi, which is 180 degrees, round here to 3 pi upon 2, which is 270, and then all the way back round to complete the full turn, which would be 360 degrees or 2 pi, or back to 0. Right, so let's see where things are positive and where things are negative on the cast diagram. So I'm just going to look first of all at the sine graph. So the sine graph here in the first quadrant is positive. So I know that sine is positive here. It's positive in the second quadrant here. And if I look down below, it just goes down below the x-axis, so it's now going negative in the third quadrant. So sine is negative here, and sine is negative in the fourth quadrant. Right, so looking at the cosine graph, the graph that's in red here, so I can see that in the first quadrant here, we're above the x-axis, so cosine is positive here. Cosine is negative in the second quadrant. It's negative also in the third quadrant. We can see it's below the x-axis there. And it then goes back above the x-axis and becomes positive again when it goes there. So in the fourth quadrant, cosine is positive. If I look at the tan graph, looking at tan in the first quadrant here is positive. So tan is positive in the first quadrant. In the second quadrant, it's below the x-axis, so tan is negative here. Tan is then positive when it gets to the third quadrant, and negative in the fourth quadrant. And this is the way the cast table is made up. So I can see here that all the angles here, tan, cosine or sine, they're all positive, so we'll give that the label A. In here it's only sine that's positive, cosine negative and tan negative. So sine positive, so I'll give it an S. So I'm just going to name the positives. In here I can see that only tan is positive, so I'll give that the T. And in this quadrant, the fourth quadrant here, I can see that only cosine is positive, so that would be the C that I would use there. And that just really spells out cast, you know, for the quadrants of the cast diagram. I'm going to be using this a lot when I'm trying to solve the problems that I've got. Right, so the process that I'm going to follow is that I'm going to find the quadrant that the angle lies in using the cast diagram. And I'm going to be using some fractions to help me with that. And the way I'm going to use that for the step number 1 is I'm going to use some fractions. And for 1, sometimes what I'll do is I'll substitute in 2 over 2, because that's just equivalent. I'll maybe substitute 3 over 3, maybe 4 over 4, maybe 6 over 6. just depending on what I'm given. So if I had 1 pi here, that would be 2 over 2, 3 over 3, 4 over 4, 6 over 6. They're the same thing. They're just the same as 1 pi or just pi radians. If I have 2, the number 2, or a full term that I'd be looking at, 2 pi, well, I'd say that that would be 4 over 2 pi, 6 pi upon 3, 8 pi upon 4, and 12 pi over 6. So what I'm going to do is for the first part, that's going to help me work out where the angle lies. I'm then going to determine whether the value is positive or negative using the cast diagram, and I'm going to find the related angle using some calculation that will be on the horizontal axis, and that will be either using pi or 2 pi in my calculations. And when I use these calculations here, I'll be substituting one of these values in depending on what the angle is. And then from there, I'll be able to find its exact value from the table of exact values. Right, let's get started. And what I'd do here is that if you've got a good idea how to do this, what I'd do is I'd freeze the video and I would work through the example that I have here and just check it with the answer that I get for this. Right, let's go ahead and find the exact value of sine 3 pi over 4. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the cast diagram. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at 0 here. I'm going to go around here. I know that that's pi upon 2. I know that this is pi across at the far side here. Now when I'm using this cast diagram, what I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to be looking at what fraction I've got on the denominator of each of these. If it's a 4, what I'll do is I'm going to change pi to 4 over 4. That will help me just set up the cast diagram to show me exactly where my axes are. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to half that number there. So that's going to be 2 over 4 pi. And we're just going to add these two together here. That gives me 3/4 of a turn, which gives me 6 pi over 4. And over here, I've got 2 pi. But what I'll do is I'll change that to 8 over 4 pi. Okay, so that's me got the angles all set up here. Remember, that's the all sine tan cos, and from there I know that 3 pi over 4 must lie in between 2 to 4 over 4. So what I'll do is I'll just draw an angle in there. From there to there, I know that that angle there is 3 pi over 4. Right, so what I can see is that in this quadrant here, only sine is positive, so I'm going to get a positive answer out of this one here. So what I'll do is I'll start with sine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the related angle next. And the related angle is always the acute angle that lies between the angle and the horizontal. To find this angle here, I'm going to start with 4 pi over 4, and I'm going to subtract the angle, which is 3 pi over 4. So that just quite simply leaves me with pi over 4. And if I look up the table of exact values for the answer for this one, my exact value will be 1 over root 2. Because remember, that's just 45 degrees if you were doing it in degrees. Okay, so that's the method that I'm going to follow through for each of the ones that I do here. Right, let's move on to B. So, find the exact value of cosine 5 pi upon 6. So what I'll do first of all is get my cast diagram drawn. What I'll do is I'll start with 0 here, pi here. Because I'm dealing with sixths, I'll change that to 6 over 6. Half it, that's 3 over 6 pi. And just add them together would be 9 pi upon 6. Here I've got 12 pi over 6. So that's me just set up, ready to go. I know that 5 pi upon 6 will lie in, so it's just less than this, so it's going to lie in here. And all I'll do is I know that that angle there is 5 pi over 6. Right, so I'm going to be interested in that acute angle that lies in there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do the work for this now. So it's cosine. I know that only sine is positive in that quadrant. So what I'm going to get is a negative answer coming out. It'll be negative cosine, and I'm going to find the related angle. So 6 pi over 6. subtracting 5 pi upon 6, so what that will give me is minus cosine of pi over 6. And from the table of exact values, what that should give me is a negative answer, root 3 over 2, because pi upon 6 is just the same as 30. Okay, let's go for tan 5 pi upon 3. And remember, you can freeze the video and see if you get the same solution that I do. Cast diagram, I'll sin tan cos, starting with 0 over here. I'm dealing in thirds, so in this case here, what I'll do is for pi, I'll change it to 3 over 3. Right, for this one here, it doesn't look exactly right. I'm just going to half that one, which is just 1.5 over 3 pi. Now, that doesn't really matter, because all I'm trying to do is find out whereabouts the angle lies. I'm going to add these two together, so that'll give me 4.5 over 3 pi. Over here, 6 pi upon 3 instead of 2 pi. Right, let's mess it up, and I know where I'm going to find the angle. So the angle lies at 5 pi upon 3, so it's greater than that. It's also greater than this one, so it's going to lie in here. So that angle from there right round to there is 5 pi upon 3. Right then, so I know that it's a cosine. The cosine is the only one that's positive in that quadrant. It's tan that I've been asked to find out, so that's going to be a negative answer there. So it's going to be negative tan, and what I'll do is I'll work out the related angle. And the related angle is always the angle that it makes with the horizontal axis. So what I'll do here is I'll start with 6 pi upon 3, so it's 6 pi upon 3, and I'll subtract 5 pi upon 3 from that. So what I should get there is it's going to be negative tan, and that's going to be just pi upon 3. It's a negative answer that I've got, so there's the negative going in, and what I've got is tan pi upon 3 from the table of exact values will be root 3. Okay, what I've got now is I've got another number of questions that I'm going to do. I've got 6 more that I'll do, and what I'll do is I'll go through them reasonably quickly. But I would freeze the video and see if you get the same answer as I do. Right, cast diagram first of all. I'll sin tan cos. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out that I'm working in sixths. So what I've got here is I'll say that instead of pi, I'll say it's 6 over 6 pi. 3 over 6 pi here, 9 over 6 here, and 12 over 6 here. Okay, I'm going to work out where the angle is. 7 pi upon 6 must lie in between these two. So there's my 7 pi upon 6 sitting there. And what I'm going to do is I know that in that there, the sign of an angle is negative. So I've got a negative value coming out of here. Finding the related angle. So what I'll do is I'll start with the angle that I'm given. So I'll be 7 pi upon 6. What I'll do is I'll subtract the horizontal from it, which is 6 pi upon 6. So that'll give me an answer of minus sine, and within the angle 7, take away the 6, it'll give me just pi over 6. And that'll give me minus, and on the table of exact values, I'm looking at this one here, that should give me minus half. Going on to, we're working in quarters now. So let's set up the cast table. 0 there, I'm looking at pi, so it's going to be 4 over 4. This one here will be 2 pi over 4. This one here will be 6 pi over 4. So all I'm doing is just adding these numbers together to get 3 quarters, because I already know what 1 quarter of it is. I know what half of it is, just add them together. Dealing in quarters, that's going to be 8 pi over 4. Right then, so for cosine, I know that where my angle is going to lie, 3 pi over 4, it's lying in this quadrant here. So that's my angle there, 3 pi over 4. What I'm going to be looking at there is cosine is going to be negative in that quadrant. So this one here is going to be negative. I'll work out what my related angle is. Remember, the related angle is always this one here to the horizontal. So the biggest number would be 4 pi over 4 minus the angle that I was given, and that should give me pi over 4. Right, from there I've got a negative, remember, so I've got a negative, and it's going to be 1 over root 2 from the table of exact values. I'm now looking at tan 4 pi over 3. Cast table. I'll sin tan cos. 0 here, I'm dealing in thirds, so pi, instead of leaving it like that, it will be 3 over 3. In here it will be 1.5 over 3 pi. In here 4.5 over 3 pi. And over here I've got 6 pi over 3. Right, where does 4 pi upon 3 lie? 4 pi, it's in here, isn't it? So we've got an angle that lies in there. So the angle all the way around there is going to be 4 pi over 3. Okay, I know that tan is the only one that's positive there. Tan is what I'm asked to find out, so it's going to be a positive from there. I'll find the related angle, so I'll take the horizontal away from the angle that I was given. So start with the bigger one and subtract 3 over 3. What that should give me is pi over 3, and that answer, I should get a positive answer, which would be root 3 from the table of exact values. Okay, let's look at the last 3 questions that we've got. Okay, just going to do something similar, and I'm going to go ahead and just do cast table. So the cast table again, just down the bottom here, all sine tan cos. I'm going to be looking at sixths, so that's a 0, that's going to be pi, I know that that's going to be 6 over 6, 3 over 6, 9 over 6, and 12 over 6. It's 7 pi over 6, so 7 pi over 6 must lie in here. So there's my 7 pi over 6. From there, what I can do is I can then look at it's in the tan quadrant and it's cosine that I'm trying to work out, so that's going to be negative. So that's going to be negative cosine of the related angle. The related angle is going to be 7 pi upon 6 minus 6 pi upon 6. So all I'm doing is just working out what the angle is to the horizontal. What I've got here is minus cosine, that's going to be pi over 6. So it's going to be like the cosine of 30 degrees. So that will give me a minus root 3 over 2. Sine 2 pi over 3. So let's work out in thirds. So sine tan cos 0, and I've got pi over this side here. Dealing in thirds, 3 over 3, 1.5 over 3, and 4.5 over 3 pi. On this side here, instead of 2 pi, I'll put 6 over 3 pi. I'm looking at 2 pi over 3, so 2 pi over 3 is lying in here. From there to there, I've got 2 pi over 3. Okay, and remember I'm going to be interested in this wee angle that's in here, the one that lies in between the horizontal and the angle given. Right, so sine is positive in that, so I'm going to have a positive answer coming out. I'll work out my related angle, which would be 3 pi over 3 minus 2 pi over 3, which just leaves me with sine of pi over 3. If I look at that, that's going to give me an answer of root 3 over 2. Positive answer. Right, the final question, we're going to be looking at tan 7 pi over 4. So let's split up our cast table into quarters. Sine tan cos, 0 over this side. This one here will be pi, so it's going to be 4 over 4. Over this side, 2 over 4. And down here, just add the two of these together, 6 pi over 4. Right all the way around would be 8 pi over 4, because that's just 2 pi. 7 pi over 4 lies in this quadrant here, so that would be lying in here somewhere like that. So the angle from there all the way around is going to be 7 pi over 4. Right then, let's see what we're going to do. So I know that in that quadrant there, only the cosine is positive. It's tan that I've been asked to find out, so that's going to give me a negative answer. So it'll be negative tan of the related angle. And the related angle is going to be the one that's made with the horizontal. So it's this angle here that I'm interested in. So that's going to be 8 pi upon 4, subtracting the angle that I'm given, which is 7 pi upon 4. So I've got minus tan of pi over 4, and from the table of exact values, tan pi over 4 is 1, but I've got a negative sitting in front of it, so it's going to be a minus 1. Okay, so I hope that you found this of some value. We're working in radians. Again, if you work in degrees, then look at the other clip that's working out an angle, any angle in degrees. And good luck, and hopefully now you ken maths.